Hey, it's Sigboy from the Gaming Anarchic Collective, and welcome to the Anarchic for the 21st of February 2013. Now, everyone's going to be talking about the PlayStation 4 because it is the big bit of news, and I did cover that at some length yesterday, and I will link to that if you haven't seen it before, and I will cover some more pertinent points about the PS4. But first off, I want to cover some more current news. Now, Tomb Raider. Now, I'm not sure whether Square Enix are shitting themselves or whether they're doing good business practice, because the last few major releases, they have done something a little bit interesting. If you look at Hitman Absolution, for example, they pulled the price for the online pass just prior to the game's release. And that was well received by everybody. Thinking, well, that's brilliant. A lot of people who've bought Hitman Absolution would have been confused that they've seen a pass code. They've gone on to either the Xbox Live or onto the PSN, and they've discovered that actually there's no cost involved. It's just a quick download code. That they did remove that. Now, Tomb Raider's coming out. Now, this is, they're looking for a big blockbuster hit out of this game. It has got a lot of coverage. A lot of people are a bit sceptical about how the multiplayer will work, because obviously it's not traditionally a multiplayer game. At least when they did Hitman, for all of its faults, the multiplayer aspect of the game was at least in keeping with the Hitman game, so people aren't really sure what to expect from this, and I'm one of them. Now, one thing they have, now Sony have done, whether they're just looking to impress their customers, or, however you may look at it, they may just be kissing arse in order to desperately get sales. But they have issued a massive price cut. I'm to notice that the website that I tend to use for my games, shop2.net, the game went down from UK price 38, I think, whatever, £38 something, has actually gone down to £31 on the PS3 and the Xbox. And on the PC, it's actually down to below £20, $19.99 or something. Now that is a massive slash for a premium AAA game. Now, either they are just desperate for sales, or again, they're trying to be nice to their customers. But that is something, if you were interested in Tomb Raider before, it's something to consider looking it up. The price has been significantly dropped. And that's throughout the board. It appears all the versions have dropped by a certain percentage. Obviously, the highest percentage being the standard edition, which if you consider the RRP is what, $59.99 in the UK, you can actually get it for under £32 if you get it online. So that's a bit of news for those of you interested in Tomb Raider. That's definitely something to bear in mind. Now, with the demise of THQ, people have been concerned as to what will happen to the next WWE game. Now, obviously, if you're not a fan of the WWE series, I personally have played every THQ WWE game. So, personally, I got to the saturation point. I played it on the N64, I played it on the PlayStation 1, I played it on the PlayStation 2, I played it on the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox, and I'm personally just not bothering with them personally. But people still enjoy it. It's still a well-selling game. Now, so people will be thinking, is the next instalment coming out for the WWE franchise? Who's picking it up? Because, of course, THQ went under, owing the WWE tens of millions of dollars. I think it was 40-something million dollars they owed the WWE. And so it was potentially going to tie up the franchise for quite some time. So if you're a fan of the WWE series, there will be a WWE 14 coming. It will be coming this year. It is going to be published by 2K Games. And it's still going to be developed by Yuke's. Those are the people who these are the guys who have actually been making the game for quite some time. So it's not really going to change. If you're looking for a new and innovative WWE experience, you're probably not going to find one, because you're probably going to find it's very similar to the previous entries. It's going to be a similar engine. It's going to be the WWE games that you are used to. So the demise of THQ is not really, it looks like it's not actually going to damage the longevity of the WWE franchise brand. So, for those of you who are looking to buy that and thinking you weren't going to, some good news there. On the back of the PS4 announcement, there was the demo for Watch Dogs. Obviously people have been interested about that game for a long time. Now, I remember someone saying to me, it looks like a next-gen game, and I thought, maybe they could get it in, squeeze it in on current-gen technology, and of course, I've been proved wrong, because it is definitely confirmed for the PS4. It has also today been confirmed for the Wii U, so there will be Watch Dogs for the Wii U. Now, given the nature of the game and the hacking and what have you, it's possible it may actually provide some fairly unique experiences using the touchpad on the gamepad. But that is just an assumption at this point. But it will be coming to the Wii U. So, if you're thinking about potentially buying a PS4 for Watch Dogs, or an Xbox 720, which is almost certainly coming out this year, or balancing up against the Wii U, it is on the Wii U. So, there we go. Also, wasn't part of the main announcement, but The Witcher 3, unsurprisingly, has been announced for the PS4, which is nice because really considering CD Projekt Red's graphical prowess, their engines are so powerful. I mean, The Witcher 2, The Witcher 1 still kicks most PCs' arses on high resolution. The Witcher 1 was not even appropriate to put on the consoles at the time. The Witcher 2, they had to do a great deal of work to manage to squeeze it and get it on the Xbox. It was a massive job. So it will be coming to the PlayStation 4. So this is the first Witcher game to be available on the Sony console. Presumably it will also be on the Xbox because they're primarily a PC developer, and The Witcher 2 came to the Xbox. So that's a bit of good news. Right, to move on, want to cover some points of the PlayStation 4. Now I did a video on this yesterday explaining the situation, so if you haven't seen that information, either see my video or there's other videos about all over where they'll say the pertinent points of what the PS4 is going to be. Now, a lot of people have been asking questions, how does that affect concerns with regards to always online DRM, with regards to used game blocking, and with regards to backwards compatibility. So I do have some answers for you, and it's yes, no, and maybe. So, first of all, backwards compatibility. That has definitely, it was intimated in the press conference, and it seems to be absolutely certain at this point that backwards compatibility will not be part of the PlayStation 4. The reason for this that they will say is because they've got rid of the cell processor now. So now the architecture and the operating system for the PlayStation 4 is nothing like the PlayStation 3. So nothing that plays on the PlayStation 3 is going to be available, is going to be able to be played on the PlayStation 4. Now what they're going to say is that they will, in time, it's not going to be a launch thing, but they will where they've used the Gaikai servers, because they bought Gaikai and that's going to be where their streaming service is going to come from. They will be potentially providing PS1, PS2, PS3 and potentially PS4 games for live streaming using the Gaikai servers. So that pretty much, that is not an absolute certainty, but that's as good as a certainty as I can give you. I'm almost certain backwards compatibility will not be part of the PlayStation 4. So that's a deal breaker for you. It's there, right there. Now, second one, used games. Those of you who follow my videos know just how badly this pisses me off. Now, people have asked them flat out, the people have asked in Sony, are you going to ban used games? Now, that is not the question I'd ask. And I'll tell you why in a second. Now, here we go. There has been a backwards and forwards, I think it was Eurogamer, had a backwards and forwards with Sony about this, and Yoshida, the head of First Party Worldwide Studios, was discussing with Sony PR, and they had a backwards and forwards, and the statement they came up with is this. So, used games can play on PS4. How is that? Now, IGN and Eurogamer and other people who've reported on this have said, crisis averted, literally saying, well, don't worry anymore. Now, personally, I'm going to call, not necessarily bullshit, but be very careful about that. Because what they've said is there is no ban. Now, the issue at hand is not that they were going to absolutely block used games, it was that they were going to block people being able to share and sell games without having to pay the developers or Sony any money. That was the big issue. Not, can they play used games? Yes, they can play used games, but the RF tagging software, if that is implemented in disk and in the hardware, that will allow people to recognise a used game. It will allow the console to recognise a used game. If it can recognise a used game, it can block a used game. And if it can block a used game, it can have a paywall to unblock that game. Now that doesn't mean they can play it. Of course they can play it. It doesn't ban them, but it may limit. That is something you need to be aware of. That is a matter of individual licensing. And that's something that I've mentioned in previous videos, that is something that we need to be very careful about as gamers. Turning games into licenses to the product is precisely what publishers want us to do, because then they own the product. Not even the developers, not Sony, not Microsoft, not Valve. The publishers own the product, and they are selling you the right to play it for as long as they want. That risk is still there. I'm going to call it. I'm not going to say, wow, used game issue is over. I don't believe it's over. I don't believe that's the case. The fact that there was a 2 and 4th and a very carefully worded answer, that feels to me like a political dodge. Be very cautious about that. This is the sort of thing that you really need to be aware of as a gamer if this matters to you. And I would argue that if it doesn't matter to you, you should consider your priorities, because this is about your rights. This is not about whether you want to buy used or not, whether you want to share games with friends. It is about your rights. This is your right to do that. You can share a CD, you can play it for your friends. If you can't do it with a game without them charging you, that is changing the law and the definition of a game, and that is something that you need to really care about, because it is your right. You should fight for your rights, whether you want to take use of that right or not. Why give up a freedom? Why? Why? Because you don't care? That seems a bit pointless. Now, Yoshida's been fairly busy, because yesterday he was flat out asked, and this is why I'm going to tell you why I'm concerned about the used game issue still. Yoshida was asked again about a different topic. This was in person, I believe, at the conference yesterday. And they were asked about saying, what about always online? You're talking about sharing, you're constant about constant streaming, about background downloading, about uploads and all these things. Can you play it offline? Now, here we go. You can play offline, but you may want to keep it connected. The system has a low power mode. I don't know the official term, that the main system is shut down and the subsystem is awake, downloading or updating. Or you can wake it up, either using the tablet, smartphone or PS Vita. He added, oh yes, you can go totally offline. Social is big for us, but we understand that there are some people out there who are antisocial. So if you want to connect to anyone else, you can do that. So if you don't want to connect to anyone else, you can do that. Now that is a denial. Is it always online? No, it is not. You can go offline. That is how Sony and Yoshida, for Sony, has stated an absolute categorical denial. So PlayStation 4 always online? Bullshit. Will not always be online. That puts the ball in Microsoft's court, because they may be permanently online. So for those of you who are aware of that and have a choice, and you considering the Xbox and the PS4, depending on how the Xbox 720 launch information comes out, that would sway me. If I had to pick one or two, one or the other, and I had always online or not always online, it would take a lot to sway me to go for the always online console. That's your personal call as a consumer. But to see that is a flat out denial. That is unequivocal. No, you can have it online. You can disconnect it. You can have it with no wireless and disconnect an Ethernet cable, and it will still work. That's clear. What they're saying is you might want to have it online because it would be beneficial to you, but you don't have to. We're not going to ban used games. How's that? That's not the same. That's not the same caliber of denial. It really isn't. That's why it still concerns me. And that's why I am going to be over the top about it, and I am going to continue to mention it, because the fact of the matter is, I could be wrong, and I hope I'm wrong. I hope they don't go through with this. I hope they don't do this universal online pass for sharing or just playing the game offline. I hope they don't do that. I hope you don't need an online connection to activate an offline game in the first instance. Something else that hasn't been confirmed. I hope these things don't work, because I'm more of a PlayStation person than an Xbox person. If I mention a console that I play, I have a Wii, don't have a Wii U, I have a Wii, I have an Xbox, I have a PlayStation. I refer to my PlayStation, because that's what I play most of my games on. I've had the PlayStation 1 and the PlayStation 2 and the PlayStation 3. I never had the original Xbox. I'm more of a customer of Sony. And even if I did have the Xbox, I'd have been a customer for Sony for a lot longer, because Microsoft only entered in competition with the PlayStation 2. So I want them to not fuck this up. But at the same time, I'm willing to look like I'm going overboard on this, and that I am not being reasonable, perhaps, about, or not giving them any benefit of the doubt, because until there's a confirmation, I'm going to want these companies to keep giving a concrete answer. I think we should all be doing that. Because what's lost? What, they get a bit tired of us and they go, oh, for fuck's sake, no, we will not do this. Badger them. You know, this is nothing more than bartering. This is not about hating on anything. It's not about picking one side or the other. It's about wanting the best. You should want the best. I want the best. You should want the best. You should expect value. Fight for the value. Because they're not going to give it to you. Just because you're a fan, just because you bought their stuff in the past, you don't matter to them unless you're standing at the till with your bank card and the product in hand about to pay for it. That's when they matter. They're not going to care if you purchased their products 2 years ago, 2 months ago, 10 years ago. They don't care. It's about next quarter profits, end of year, money, money, money. Keep growing, keep growing, keep growing. If they lose some people on the wayside, all well and good. Because if they do that, but they can put into place a system that allows each user to be more individually profitable, if a few people who aren't willing to give them the money that they want drop off, they're not going to care. Make them care. Speak your mind. Right. Off topic from gaming. I don't often do anything about this, but I want to bring something up that I am a big fan of, and I just wanted to do a little bit of a plug for these people. Well, it's really more of a one-man band, but the webcomic God Hates Astronauts. If you've ever read it, I really enjoy it. I think it's a fantastic webcomic. I think it's brilliant, beautifully drawn, very funny, very over the top. It's just good fun. And generally, I'm not a fan of Kickstarter. However, the author has got a Kickstarter in place. I don't tend to like Kickstarters, but I will promote this on the grounds that I enjoy the comic, and I think the Kickstarter is, one, it's absolutely safe of succeeding, and secondly, what the perks they're offering I think are pretty good value. Now, just to put this into perspective, it needed $15,000 to come to market. It's made $26,479 already, and it's got 26 days to go. 615 people, as of right now, have backed this product. I am very tempted to back it myself. I don't back Kickstarters. This interests me. Now, I don't know how well this is going to translate. I think it should translate fairly well because I don't have the backing light up on my iPad, so you should be able to see this fine. This is the cover. This is God Hates Astronauts. It's a comedic, over-the-top superhero story. Now, pledge-wise, this is why I quite like it. Now, this is a 180-page hardback graphic novel. Okay, so, you know, price-wise, in the UK, you're looking at about £20. I think it's about $35 in the US. Feel free to correct me. But, price-wise, for this, so the $10 backing, you get a PDF of it, plus an MP3 of a theme tune by Murder by Death. $25, you get a t-shirt, and the MP3 and the PDF. $30, which frankly is about the price that I'd pay for the book anyway, you get a signed copy of the book, plus the MP3, plus the PDF, and it's an extra $10 to ship internationally. And it goes on. It goes on to quite a few different versions. A lot of them are sold out. Upside down version is sold out. Yeah, there's some. It goes up to $650, which for a Kickstarter is a lot for a comic, but at the same time, you know, no one's going to do that. Two people have done it. Those people are idiots. Two people have backed the 300 pledge, won the 200, won the 160, but it goes all the way down. And to be honest, I think there's a $50, $55 you get two copies of the book, the MP3, and a PDF of a separate book as well. $50 you get a book and a t-shirt, again signed with the MP3. $45, he'll do a drawing inside the book for you, plus the end. You know, it's not bad. It's not bad, and to be honest, I like the art style. Let me just get this up to a decent level. There. I just think this is a nice art style. I think it's a comedic book. I enjoy it. I personally recommend it. I think it's funny. But you don't have to take my word for it because the entire thing is free online. So either read it online and don't bother backing the Kickstarter, or if you fancy it, it's already going to go to market, so no one's going to lose out by not backing it. Just read it on the web series. It's all online. You can just do that. Why the hell not? Check it out. If you like it and you want to pay for it, it might be worth, rather than waiting for it to maybe potentially appear in your comic book store, maybe pick it up from the Kickstarter. It's really only the retail price plus it's signed, so I can't really see what you're missing out there, because it's guaranteed to hit its target. It's beaten its target by over $10,000. But I digress. Generally, just as a quick point, I don't like Kickstarter. I think it's a fucking abuse. This is what I think Kickstarter's for. Someone who creates a piece of art and is paying for the printing costs and distribution costs and some promotion. That I don't mind. Give me money to make a documentary, go fuck yourself. You know, it's mostly, I'm very wary of Kickstarter, but that one, check it out for yourself. I'll put the link to the Kickstarter account in the description field. Feel free to dismiss it, but I wanted you guys to have the opportunity, because I know a lot of you guys are also into your comics, as I am, and I wanted to make you aware of it if you weren't aware of it. And hell, worst case scenario is ignore it, or read it for free. Anyway, you've been looking through the 2020 vision of the Anarchic Eye. I'll catch you guys later.